In this broadly expected finale of the Equalizer series, our most loved resigned U.S. Marine and DEA official Robert McCall takes us on a pristine, exciting worldwide experience across Italy. A scene of complete and total destruction meets Lorenzo Vitali as he drives to an isolated winery in Sicily, requesting that his young child stay in the vehicle. He arms himself and enters the structure. Inside, he observes a similar scene of death all over the place. Before finally arriving at the storm's cellar, where two of his security guards have Robert McCall at gunpoint. Robert lets him know that he expects to reclaim something that doesn't belong to Lorenzo. Dazzled that Robert had tracked him down, Lorenzo cautions him that he won't leave the winery alive. Robert counters by challenging Lorenzo's safety in the next 9 seconds. True to his word, after 9 seconds Robert smartly kills every one of the guards utilizing the weapon. Lorenzo is mercilessly shot also, yet remains stubborn enough to attempt to crawl to his escape. Robert follows him with another weapon and at last conveys the last shot. Pursuing what he came for, Robert then snatches a lot of keys from Lorenzo's belt. Some time later, Lorenzo's child manages how to take a shot at Robert's back when he is leaving. When Robert pivots to fight back, the kid drops his weapon and escapes. On his drive back, Robert eventually passes out and is found by one of the neighborhood police, Gio Bonaxai. In Altamont, a wonderful seaside town, Gio helps the nearby Dr. Enzo Orizio fix Robert up. When he gets up some time later, he can't respond to whether or not if he is a decent man or a terrible man that they had saved. Regardless, Enzo carefully oversees Robert's recovery over the course of the following several days. On the third day, Robert is finally healthy to the point of checking out the town. At a nearby cafe, the owner and waitress Amina serves him their best coffee, even though having requested a tea. She demands that he would forget tea once he tasted their coffee. Afterward, Gio gets to the cafe on his regular visits with his little girl Gabby, and meets Robert while Amina engages his daughter. Gio assures Robert that he is in the midst good people. He then gives the keys to his vehicle, saying that he hadn't yet checked Robert's bags. Back at Enzo's place, Robert anonymously calls the financial operations group of the CIA and addresses Agent Emma Collins. He tells her regarding the strange winery in Sicily that was obviously importing wine from Syria. Robert spends the next couple of days getting to know local people and different business owners in the marketplace. He also sees that members of a gang harassing and threatening everybody over their income and request regular payments too. One day, he hears Angelo, a neighborhood fish merchant, getting pounded by one of the gangsters, Marco Quaranta. He sees the gang leave the store after one more threat from Marco about returning 1 week from now to gather the cash. The following day, Robert visits Angelo's store out of consideration for Enzo. Kind-natured Angelo rejects payment from Robert, expressing that it was his honor that Enzo's companion had approached his shop interestingly. In the meantime, following Robert's tip-off, a team of CIA specialists including Emma find illegal narcotics as well as millions in cash at the winery in Sicily, considering these were activités of a gang that wasn't even on their radar. Emma and her partner Frank Conroy chose to continue to search for any data they could find. In the wake of examining Robert's healed wound one stormy day, Enzo guarantees him that not knowing whether one is a decent individual is without a doubt an indication of a decent individual. He says that it was the why neither her nor Gio officially reported Robert's accident when they found and treated him. Somewhere else, Marco's brother Vincent advises him that they have grand plans for the commercialization of the town of Altamont, with new resorts and casinos to be set up there. Expecting to showcase an example to the rest of the town, Marco and his gang set fire to Angelo's shop. At some point, while the town can't simply defenselessly watch, Robert sees the gang waiting somewhat away from the shop, and later assists Angelo with tidying up with the remainder of the town. In the interim, Gio investigates the recording from the fire and officially lodges a request about the van that was seen outside Angelo's shop. With time, Robert turns out to be essential for local people, as he becomes acquainted with a greater amount of them. On one such scheduled day, when Robert is at Amina's cafe, calmly having his tea, he sees Emma there. Having finally tracking him down, she tried to ask about why and how he gives precise information about the winery's genuine business. While he sticks to offering her unclear responses, he likewise says that he earnestly wishes he could simply tell her everything. When she leaves, he is enjoyably astounded to realize that she already knows his name. In the meantime, Gio goes to Gabby's school to get her that day. He gets a weird call saying her school was over somewhat sooner than different children. When he asks her teacher, he is told that an officer picked Gabby up only some moments ago. Gio rushes home to find his wife and little girl held hostage by Marco and his men in retaliation for Gio's investigation into their van. Marco assaults him while his family is made to watch. After threatening the existence of his family if Gio happens to meddle in their business once more, the gang leaves. When Robert sees Gio leave Enzo's office, patched up with a couple of bandages, he asks the doctor what happened. Enzo lets him know that such incidents were normal in several towns because of the criminal association called the Camorra, or what is regularly known as the Italian Mafia. He says that Marco's gang is a piece of the Camorra as well, and that this was a problem that didn't actually have an answer. Meeting Emma at a church one day, Robert asks her whether she has believed in miracles, noting that she didn't. She likewise lets him know that she wasn't afraid of him, regardless of whether he was very nearly a ghost that no one knew about. She confirms that the Sicilian rancher, Lorenzo Vitali, had been on Interpol's most wanted list for 10 years and that his activity was very huge in itself, since terrorists used his farms for smuggling. Curious why he picked her to give that mysterious tip. Emma gets some information about his goals. He diverts the conversation by saying that what she ought to rather be zeroing in on was the reason Sicily was being targeted on for these smuggling. Promising to find the answer soon, Emma expresses hope to know the answer to her original question in their next meeting. That night, Marco intrudes on Gio's family dinner at a restaurant. He lets him know that he wants to move toward the Somali family and arrange a couple of their boats for the gang. When he spots Robert situated at a table across the room, he goes over and warns him to avoid what doesn't concern him. Saying that he doesn't appreciate threats, Robert requests that Marco take his friends and go somewhere else with their business. Basically in light of the fact that he has started enjoying Altamont and its people. When he doesn't treat Robert's statement in a serious way, Marco gets close to no advance notice. Then a delicate nerve on his hand gets preceded. Robert's pain compliance strategy allows him to Marco order his men to leave. He additionally gets Marco to leave his weapon. Later that night, Robert battles Marco and couple of his gang and ultimately finishes them. Frank calls Emma from Rome one morning to tell her about the most recent station bombing. It has been found that the money from the narcotics was being utilized for similar terrorist activities. She tells Frank that while in Naples she will investigate getting additional data from the intergroup to seize the wholesalers of the narcotics. In the meantime, the head of police of Naples visits Vincent and tells him of the arrival of the CIA after his meeting with Emma. He proposes that Vincent ought to shut down the entirety of his activities as he believes Emma will soon figure out that the Camorra was involved with purchasing from their own enemies for a thriving business. Letting him know that he will deal with things with Emma. Vincent then cuts off the chief's hand and threatens him to focus on figuring out who is responsible for ending Marco's life instead. Somewhere else, Emma answers Robert's call and is informed that the Camorra is behind the continuous criminal operations. While conversing with him, she barely escapes being a serious bombing victim of Vincent's plan to bring her down. At this point another lethal bomb goes off. She is quickly taken to the hospital to mend her wounds, where Frank guarantees her that he will take the remainder of her work. That night, having gotten Gio and his family as leverage, Vincent declares to the town of Altamont to uncover the individual liable for Marco's passing. He takes shots at Gio's ear and takes steps to end him with his next shot, on the off chance that he isn't really offered the response that he is searching for. Just as he threatens Gio with his family, Vincent is interrupted on by Robert's appearance rehashing everything that he had said to Marco. He says that Vincent can't take away the peace Robert had found in the town and among local people of Altamont. He requests to Vincent to let the others go to deal him, since he was the one responsible for Marco's passing. As stubborn as his brother, Vincent answers that he is qualified for take anything he decides is right. He adds that taking Robert's life in the town square where his adored local people could watch him was very fitting. He says that it would be one more incredible guide to show what happens to people who screw with him and the Camorra. When Robert visits Emma, she offers her thanks for having saved her life. Dropping the packs of money he had carried alongside him, he tells Emma of a person named Dyer, who had lost his benefits due to a cyber hacker. Emma then understands that Robert had followed the trail to the attack to the winery in Sicily, finished Lorenzo's men including Lorenzo, getting the keys to the vault, and afterward had taken precisely as much money as was owed to Dyer. When she asks as to whether he was a friend of his, Robert says that they had met only a single time. At the point when Emma leaves Italy, she goes to Boston to drop the cash off to Dyer and his wife. Happy at not losing their home, the couple says thanks to Emma and asks why a stranger would take such measures for them. Emma takes their lead, saying that she couldn't want anything more than to know the explanation also. Back working at the CIA, One day Emma gets a package with her mom's journal and a note from Robert. It is then uncovered that Emma was the daughter of Brian and Plummer, Robert's CIA friends. The film closes with scenes of cheerfulness as the town of Altamont praises their football team's victory and Robert jumps in and let loose as one of local people.